Senator Barrasso has stepped out, and then we will turn to Senator Franken.
Thank you, Senator Manchin. I am grateful for you, just so you know, from this side. Anyway, you betcha. Administrator Szymanski, your assessment talks about strong growth in domestic crude oil production from the tight formations. I assume that includes the Bakken Formation in Montana as well as North Dakota?
Yes, Senator. Yes.
And as you know, when you cross the state line going west from North Dakota into Montana, we have a lot more federal land in Montana than our neighbors in North Dakota. How much of the projected growth in production do you believe will come from federal lands versus state or private lands?
I'd be happy to try to supply some of that for the record for you. We do a report. We published one that shows the location of oil production by private, federal, and American Indian lands. The bulk of the resources, and we have overlaid the shale basins that we know of with a map of who the landowners are, tends to show that the bulk of the shale resources are on private lands, but that is obviously going to vary from state to state, and perhaps we could get you some information on that.
You wouldn't want to venture a prediction on that at all, or just wait to get the information from you?
I would rather have the numbers than to make a guess. I do know that the production on private land is way above the level of production on federal land.
Yeah, I think over the last 6 years or so, the production on private state lands up around 50–60%. I think we're actually down single digits on federal lands over the last 6 years. But I'd be interested to get your go forward.
And we will provide you with those numbers, Senator.
Another question was the Department of Interior, their recently announced rule on hydraulic fracturing for federal lands factored into your projected growth numbers?
Not specifically. There are different views about what that possible impact would be. The industry itself is moving towards greener completions across the board, so on both private and federal lands. It does tend to lift costs a little bit, but there are offsetting factors too. It's one of the issues in greenhouse gas emissions. Perhaps we could come back to you on that with more information.
Yeah, we were disappointed in Montana. We have a very robust and rigorous regulations here because we've got to live near where the activities occur. We want to make sure we protect our environment, and this duality, this additional layer of regulations, we did not see that as helpful, certainly in Montana, when we think we've got that well regulated ourselves. Your assessment talks about an 18% increase in the average retail price of electricity over the projection period. What were the factors contributing to the projected increase in electricity rates in your assessment?
Senator, let me just take a quick look at what some of those numbers were. And
as you're looking, that's important certainly for many, many states, and for all of us. I think we're about 40% of electricity.
So what we said was you have rising costs for electric power generation, transmission, and distribution, coupled with the slow growth of electricity demand, are what add up into that 18% number. So within the generation area, some of that is going to be fuel increases, and some of that will be the capital costs of expansion.
I don't think your assessments, though, take into account the EPA's Clean Power Plan.
That's correct.
I can tell you Montanans are very concerned, given that 51% of our electricity comes from coal, that this plan would further increase electricity rates for Montanans, for Montana families, while also damaging our state's ability and our tribe's ability to produce coal. I did a field hearing on the Crow reservation last week. Their unemployment rate is 47% today. If they lost those coal jobs, it raises to over 80% unemployment rate, and certainly it's a concern back home. It's killing jobs, affecting our tax revenue, which funds our schools, our teachers, our infrastructure, and supporting overall essential services. Given these factors to electricity rates, I remain highly concerned about the EPA's proposed actions, which would severely impact Montana's coal sector. We have the most recoverable coal deposits in the United States. I'm out of time. Thank you.